Now let's discuss when under the gun +1 raises, we call on the button. Flop comes 10-8-6. They bet a third pot, we call. And here on the turn, as you can see, again, it's roughly 50-50. And that's because they're betting with a reasonable range on the flop. We're calling with our reasonable range. And it turns out no card is like substantially better for one player than the other, besides the absolute best high cards in this scenario. As you see, the ace is pretty good for the under the gun +1 player because they're raising a lot of ace X and they are betting with a balanced range that includes a decent amount of them. And the kings and queens are also not quite great. Jack's also marginal. So as you can see, typically the high card is going to favor whoever bet the flop. The lower cards is going to typically favor whoever calls on the flop. That said, we're never really substantially favored in any scenario here, which is going to lead to us doing a whole lot of checking again, usually between like 50 and 60% of the time when we are checked to. Some cards are going to be better for us to bet though because we have a bit of a nut advantage. Just want to show you here. Take a look at the 9 and the 7. You see, they don't appear to be better for us than any particular card, but notice under the gun +1 has almost no 9s or 7s in their range, which leads to us being able to bet those pretty frequently. Also, the 8 and the 6. Notice we don't have a ton of those in our range. I suppose the 10 as well, right? We don't have a ton of those in our range, but whenever those cards do come in, the opponent checks the turn, we do get to bet those a little bit more frequently because we're going to have more nut hands, right? Whenever you have the nut advantage, you get to bet more often. It is neat to see that on the 10, 8, and 6, when we are betting, we're often betting using a smaller size. But when the 9 or the 7 comes, we often bet using a larger size. So kind of cool, right? All right, let's go through an example or two. Here, 10, 8, 6, 5. In this situation, take a second, think about how you would classify your hands if you were developing the implementable strategy. You'd want to be betting something like over pairs and better. Ace 10 is probably okay. I mean, as you see, solver opts to check it the majority of the time here. If you were trying to make this strategy implementable, by the way I would go about doing this is I would essentially take Jack 10, Queen 10, King 10, and Ace 10. This equals, I don't know, 70 or 80% of an entire hand. So maybe take all of these, put them into Ace 10 suited, and then value bet Ace 10 suited, check the other ones. It's probably viable. Notice solver, again, loves pairs with gut shots. Pair with gut shot here bets, pair with gut shot here bets. 9-7's the nuts, right? Yeah. 8-7, pair with an open-ended bets. 7-6, pair with an open-ended bets. Solver really loves having that additional equity, right? And you should too. If you take a look at the bluffs the solver uses, all 9s, all 7s, right? Pretty easy to just bet with your 9s, bet with your 7s, you're going to be okay. Also, the various overcards I like to bluff here too, because you don't really have a ton of obvious bluffs. Plus, you actually do have a decent amount of premium hands here. I mean, you have 10. I mean, look at all the 10s, 9s, 8s, 6s, 5s that the solver has, right? It's a lot of them. And when that's the case, you do need to look for bluffs, and the overcards that lack showdown value that have decent equity often do opt to bluff. So that makes pretty logical sense. Let's take a look at the ace of spades. This is obviously the worst card, or one of the worst cards. Even though it is bad, it's not like horribly bad, because if you think about it, we still have ace, queen, ace, jack, ace 10 suited, like all these good suited aces, right? And even some of the offsuit ones. So we have plenty of nut hands in this scenario. It is neat to see, though, that hands like ace-queen opt to not even bet an ace-king, which is kind of surprising. I would have assumed ace-king and ace-queen just get to bet every time here. Kind of neat to see ace-jack bets instead. I have no clue why that's happening. Ace-9 is betting as well, as is ace-7. Again, solver really likes having that gut shot for additional nut equity. Notice here that like 10-9's betting when check 2. Pocket 9s is betting when check 2. So really, solver's just taking like all of these marginal made hands that have additional equity and betting them. Because quite often when you do bet it and they fold, you protected your hand decently well. And when they do call, well, you're going to get there on the river every once in a while. Notice pocket 5s elects to bluff in this scenario, probably because solver is having a tough time finding too many bluffs. One pattern I'm noting is that whenever solver has under pairs and bottom pairs, like 6-5 here and 6-4, solver often picks some of the under pairs to bluff. It seems like a little bit more often, especially if they think the opponent has some of those hands in their range that we can make fold, right? King Jack bluffs his overcards. Queen Jack, clear gut shot's going to be betting a lot. King Jack, King Queen, all these hands are bluffing as well. So neat scenario. One thing I do want to point out here, in this situation, an overbet is actually used a decent chunk of the time. And if you look at the hands that are overbetting, it's going to be sets, right? The sets are overbetting, 2 pairs overbetting, and then sporadic 7s. and overcards, right? If we go back to this scenario, overbet's used as well about, not all that often in this scenario, but when it is used with the super nut hands plus a few sporadic sevens. So whenever you are betting very polarized, especially with hands that are almost certainly best but a little bit vulnerable to being outdrawn, you often want to go for a very, very large bet. And when you're betting a little bit thinner for value with a hand like pocket nines, right? Pocket nines is a great example of a hand that is value betting, but it's betting thinly. Same thing like 10-9, right? 10-9 is a hand that's value betting, but it's betting thinly. And 8-7 is value betting, but it's betting thinly. These hands all opt to bet using a small size. And this is the tough thing that's hard for humans to do. Like if you look at this, the solver is going to be very balanced with all these bluffs. Like King 10, for example, is betting medium sometimes and small sometimes. King Queen, it's splitting up between all three sizes, right? And that's really, really difficult for humans to actually implement. And my general recommendation here is to just use 1 or 2 sizes. And in this scenario, I'd probably just go for a small bet like a third pot or a large bet, like 120% pot. Because if you look at a lot of these hands that are betting generally big, like pocket 10s is betting big, might as well bet huge, right? Pocket 8s, same story. 6s, same story. 5, same story. 9-7 for the nuts, might as well just bet all big. Queen Jack, probably might as well bet big. King Jack, King Queen, probably go smaller with those. And typically that's going to work out well enough, and it's going to make your strategy just substantially more easier to implement.